tonight at 7:30. Have a great Friday and a great weekend.
This is Wink Tracks the Tropics, powered by the Weather Authority.
When the tropics are active and timing is everything, the Weather Authority is keeping you prepared.
The latest update did come in from the National Hurricane Center. Helene moving north-northeast. Winds have increased up to 90 miles per hour.
Keeping you informed.
It's now 170 miles northwest of us, and as we had mentioned, this is a major Cat 4 hurricane. This is going to have major landfall implications.
Southwest Florida has seen its fair share of storms in the past few years.
We are leaving immediately after this because it is not safe. You're starting to see some of these debris, sticks flying up and out, and it's one of the reasons why Sanibel is evacuated. It clearly is not safe out here.
But our slice of paradise has bounced back in ways we'd never expected.
It's tough.
They had each other, and that's a good thing.
I wouldn't have made it without Marianne. We're going to make it. We're going to make it.
Wink News has been there with you every step of the way. That won't change.
Yes, we avoid the worst part of the storm, but the wind field's growing and the pressures are deepening. We're going to feel more of that influence on the back end with the surge.
From forecast cones to safety tips, the Weather Authority team has you covered. You're watching Wink Tracks the Tropics.
All right, welcome in and congratulations, everyone. You have made it to Friday, and thank you so much for spending it with us here on Wink Tracks the Tropics. I'm meteorologist Josh Green checking in. I'll tell you what a beautiful week we've had. I couldn't think of a better way to close it out. Sunshine, blue skies, a beautiful weekend across Southwest Florida for any and all outdoor plans, something we're very grateful for. Nice and quiet in the tropics. Of course, that doesn't mean there's nothing to talk about when it comes to the tropics. We're going to look at the latest run of all of those guidance models and the ensemble models just to see what's going on out there, get some opinion from the National Hurricane Center. And today, we actually have a recap on the entire hurricane season, courtesy of one of our amazing meteorologists, Nikki Sheik. She put together a beautiful little package for us, so we'll get to see that. In addition, we'll talk a little bit about that drought that has really settled in across Southwest Florida, and just exactly how long it's been since we've seen any rainfall, and how this kind of ties into the theme of the dry season versus the rainy season that we are left with here in Southwest Florida. Lucky for me, have an amazing panelist today. Let's bring her in, meteorologist Oceana Hayden checking in. Hey, how you doing? Good morning.
Great, how are you, Josh? I'm blending in here.
What's that?
I'm blending in with my background.
She is blending in today. You know, it's like wearing green on the green screen. You know,
it
luckily,
is. Oh my gosh.
If we wear green on the green screen, all of a sudden it just looks like we've got weather all over us.
Floating head.
Yeah, exactly. It's real fun. Maybe we'll try that out one. Maybe we'll try that next week. That'll be one of our segments.
Let's do that. That'd be fun.
Absolutely. Anyways, what do you say? Let's just delve right into it. You know what the first thing I'm always going to start off with? It's going to be that countdown clock. There he is. Oceana knows it. Let's pull it up. Beautiful. There it is. Every day it looks better and better to me. The reason why, those numbers keep getting lower and lower. We are now under 10 days away. Make it 9 from the official end of the 2025 Atlantic hurricane season, which comes to a close at the end of this month. So, is there anything out there? Absolutely not. We're always looking ahead, though, at the Weather Authority, right? Here, what you're looking at right now are the ensemble members of the European model. Remember, there's about 50 plus little different members of the European that all are their own individual kind of models. They start off with initial starting conditions. In addition to that, they sample the atmosphere in different ways and they spit out different outcomes. Sometimes when they're all on the same page, we consider that a signal of something that could develop. Beautiful thing is, not seeing that right now. Look down to the southern Caribbean near Central America there. Maybe 5 of the, again, 50 plus members of the ensemble runs saying that we could see an area of low pressure develop down there. Doesn't even mean it would be tropical by nature. That's just kind of the one area across this half of the northern hemisphere right now that would be hospitable for any tropical system. So this is not strong enough to be considered an actual signal. That means the European says absolutely nothing going on out there over the next 5-10 days, that is. And the Google AI is even more on board with that theory. Look at that. Only one of its, again, 50 plus ensemble members saying that there's even a chance for some weak area of low pressure, not even a tropical system, to develop down there in the southern Caribbean. So the trends have been our friends and they continue to be our friends. I'm saying there's absolutely going to be no activity throughout the end of the 2025 Atlantic hurricane season. The National Hurricane Center agrees with me, at least over the next 7 days. That will continue to be the trend over the next few days. And by the time we get to this end of the month, we can finally say good riddance to the 2025 season and enjoy the off season. Here's a little bit of a recap of what we have seen so far. Again, 13 named storms, 5 of which have become hurricanes and 4 of which have become major hurricanes, the last of which, of course, the most impactful of them all, Category 5 Major Hurricane Melissa, tied for the strongest to ever make landfall in the Atlantic Basin for western Jamaica. So now is the time where I do want to go ahead and get that package ready from meteorologist Nikki Sheeks, because she does a great job, you know, at kind of detailing what has been going on this entire hurricane season. I believe we have that ready to go. Whenever you guys are ready, we'll go ahead and pop that up.
The Atlantic hurricane season is thankfully coming to a close without any impacts to Southwest Florida. Despite abnormally warm sea surface temperatures triggering forecasts for a very active season, the 2025 Atlantic hurricane season ended up sitting pretty close to average. While the very warm sea surface temperatures supported an active season, there were a couple of factors working against it. One of the major storm depressants, shear, or the change of wind with height.
There was quite a bit of shear in the atmosphere through most of the main part of the season, and shear being differences in wind speed and direction at different heights in the atmosphere, which tend to either prevent a hurricane from really getting its act together or ripping it apart once it does, or keeping it from getting too strong.
Another player was a Madden-Julian oscillation, also known as the MJO, which dampened convection due to the sinking air over the Atlantic through much of the season. When the conditions were ripe with moisture and no shear, storms were able to blow up.
Certainly when we did get a storm formed, there was so much energy in the ocean, and not just at the surface, but as we saw with Melissa most recently, it sat over the Caribbean in one place. And normally you'd expect a strong hurricane like that to bring up a lot of cold water from below, and then that would tend to weaken the storm. But there was so much heat contained at even deep levels in the Caribbean and that whole region, that it just kept feeding on that energy.
We had 13 named storms, 5 hurricanes, and 4 major hurricanes this season. On average, there are 14 named storms, 7 of those becoming hurricanes, and 3 of those strengthening to at least a Category 3 or stronger. I'm the Weather Authority meteorologist, Nikki Sheeks.
Thank you, Nikki, for putting that together for us. Oceana, I'll open up the floor to you. You know, what kind of stood out about that little presentation?
You know, I really like that she had that woman come in and tell us a little more insight, and I really think it's interesting to hear her kind of explain a little bit about the MJO. I know Nikki mentioned that at the beginning, and not a lot of people know about that. I think people really focus on El Nino and La Nina, so it's pretty interesting to know about that sinking air over the Atlantic, how that kind of had an impact. You know, that high pressure that sits over it's the Bermuda High, which is what it's called more casually, and that sat pretty far to the east. And I think I said this before, but I like that. I think I'm finding that that had a big thing to do with the hurricanes making that turn away from us here in the United States for the first half of the season. So I think that the Bermuda High had a huge play in how hurricane season went for us here in the United States, at least for the first half.
Yeah, absolutely. In terms of, kind of figuring out the direction in which they were going to go, that was the main player for sure. And I agree with you. They mentioned a lot about wind shear. And I feel like, if you're watching along with Wink Tracks the Tropics and you follow along with Wink, you might be pretty familiar with wind shear at this point, because I feel like we talk about it so often. But you're right, something we don't mention is that Madden-Julian oscillation period, right? Because that's a little bit deeper, right?
Yeah.
Then we're kind of getting into climatological factors, but they did a really good job at kind of explaining how, yes, if you have rising air in a certain region, then you're more likely to see tropical systems, because again, these tropical systems, storms, hurricanes, it's all rising air. The stronger they get, the more rising air there is, the more convection you get, and the stronger the storm can get. But if you have sinking air, again, it's like those areas of high pressure that we have sitting on top of us literally right now.
Yeah.
It suppresses all of that rising air, so you can't get all of that evaporation. You can't get all of that heat rising up, strengthening systems, or developing at all. So that was definitely a really good takeaway there. And overall, things just kind of came together to protect most of the United States this year. But I think their last point, was also quite interesting that they made, the fact that there was still, so much energy, heat content in the water, that when those conditions were ripe, we were able to see the 4 of the 5 hurricanes become major hurricanes, right?
Yeah, no, that was totally an impressive part of this hurricane season, and it is one that's definitely going to go down in history, regardless of what we may think here in the United States, just because we didn't have a landfall. But we saw a lot of historic events this season, especially with so many of those rapidly intensifying into major hurricanes. I think 3 out of the 4 did rapidly intensify, and Melissa made that landfall. That broke records, and I think they did find that a dropsonde had 252 mile per hour winds, which, correct me if I'm wrong, that breaks the record, right?
It did. I know fastest, it broke a lot of records.
Yeah, so Melissa was historic in itself. So the fact that we're ending it in the United States quiet, that's one thing, but it's still a season that scientists and us as meteorologists are going to look back on as a reference, just because that ocean heat content was there. Although the steering patterns were really on our side, I mean, what developed was pretty insane, and seeing some of these storms really explode in the waters out there, I mean, it was a lot to watch.
It really was. And again, another staggering fact to kind of think about is this is the first time in 10 years where we didn't have a hurricane make landfall in the United States.
Huge
and
fact.
That we hadn't have a hurricane in the Gulf at all. Right?
Yeah.
So it's not even like we had something there to be concerned of.
No.
So very thankful this season, a very deserved break for
Absolutely.
us here in Florida and the rest of the United States, and we'll continue to hope to keep that good luck as we look ahead towards next season.
Yeah, it was definitely nice to say that the concern meter was low throughout
So
the
often,
entire
so often.
season.
I was able to say that very much.
Right? Yeah, I know. I would hear you and Zach all morning say, concern meter's low, concern meter's low, and then I'd go on to say it at noon. And let me just say that's a great thing, because there are so many times in the last few years where the concern meter was high pretty early on. There was a lot of indication that the United States had something to worry about, specifically here in Southwest Florida. But, we really didn't have any super worrying storms for us this whole season. So stress levels were low. I hope everybody enjoyed that. I know I did.
And that's a good thing about, this show, is that we've explained so many different aspects of tropical systems. I feel like sometimes the unknown can be a little bit more scary, than what's actually going on, right? Because if you know the beast you're dealing with, and you know how it works, and you know all the different aspects, you know about storm surge, you know about what winds do, how high they are depending on how fast they are, then you're kind of a little bit more comfortable and confident saying, okay, this is what's going to happen. This is what I need to do if I need to evacuate, if I just need to seek shelter. I think it kind of alleviates the nerves. So that's
Definitely.
why we're here. All right, let's take a little bit closer to home. Next up is our Wink Weather Watcher Spotlight. Let's go ahead and pop that up. It might have popped up there. Zach took my precious iPad this morning, so we'll have to see. Let's pull up those graphics real quick and see what we have on deck right now. We still have the named storms there, and boom, there we are. Weather Watcher Spotlight, courtesy of Mary this morning. This is in LaBelle, Florida, southwest Florida, inland. We're overlooking the Caloosahatchee River. It runs in between Lake Okeechobee and the Gulf. And what is that right there? That is a SpaceX rocket launch. That was last night, I believe around 10:30. That took off from Cape Canaveral, and our weather watchers here close at home, several of them were able to catch it in our southwest Florida night skies. I know you're a big fan of these launches, Oceana. Were you up to catch this one? I imagine you probably weren't.
No, unfortunately, I went to bed pretty early last night, 7:30, which is really good for me, actually. Usually I go to bed at like 8:30. But I did not catch this. And the thing is, we've had so many of these launches lately that I feel like I'm kind of taking them for granted because I'm just like, oh, there'll be another one. I'll catch the next one.
Well, it probably will.
We will, for sure. So I will say, though, Mary, she has a great view of these launches every time. She has sent in many great pictures of launches over the past few weeks, and so have all of our weather watchers, but I've noticed that her spot in LaBelle over the Caloosahatchee, I mean, she gets a great view of it. Look how clear the sky is.
Jealous.
I mean, she sends great pictures every day. The morning on the Caloosahatchee looks so peaceful and gorgeous, but I think that's a great shot. It looks like a firework.
No, it really does. And again, I'll never find it not cool, the fact that Cape Canaveral is a couple hundred miles away.
So cool.
Maybe even a little bit more than that. And still, we can see it clear as day when the sky conditions are right. If you get that cloud cover out there, you can kiss those chances goodbye. But if it's a clear night like it was last night, absolutely beautiful. So thank you, Mary, for sending that one in. If you want to join our weather watchers, head to our website or our Facebook page, and it will give you the instructions on how to do that. So, something that's nice about this time of year in Southwest Florida when it comes to the dry season, lots of folks come into town. There are so many local events pretty much every week from here all the way through April. And one of which is the 35th Annual Sand Sculpting Championship. That's going on Fort Myers Beach. Kicks off, it might have kicked off yesterday, but it's in full swing today and throughout this weekend. What a beautiful day to get out there on the beach, wherever you may be. Sunshine, blue skies across the area. Temperatures pretty warm this afternoon, topping out in the mid-80s, and more local events. For let's say you want to go out this evening, it'll be beautiful out there as well, mostly clear skies, temperatures cooling down if it's a little bit too warm for you during the daytime hours. I hear there's a music walk in downtown Fort Myers. I've never been personally, so I think I'm going to have to venture out. I did some reading online. I believe they do it every third Friday.
Cool.
Yeah.
What exactly is it? Did you look into that?
So I believe that you have several different artists, performers that kind of just line the streets and are doing their own little respective thing.
That's kind of like Europe. I like that.
I know. You can kind of walk around, and whatever's kind of your vibe, you can just hang out and dance to the music and enjoy the beautiful weather.
Great. This is perfect night for that. I mean, not too cold. Don't need to layer up or anything. It'd be so nice.
I like the 10 o'clock hour when we get a little bit closer to 70 degrees.
I agree.
You get that nice little breeze that moves in as well. Oh, yeah. It's going to be really nice out
So
there.
many events, so many fun things. We had the boat show last weekend. I mean,
we did.
Wow.
Let's keep it going. Now, we've seen a lot of local events. We've seen a lot of sunshine. Something that we haven't seen, what is it?
Rain.
Rain. Yep, no rain. Good news for outdoor plans, not so good news for all the thirsty lawns, farms, and gardens out there as well. It's been 25 days. Naples and Fort Myers, 22 days, just a few less, in Punta Gorda, where they have gone without any measurable rainfall. All right, and because of that, we have seen those drought conditions begin to kind of expand. Look at this, the rainfall totals, not only in the month, obviously a big old donut for November, but look at 2025 on the year. We're down 17 inches compared to what we should be in the city of Palms. 12 inches, over a foot in Punta Gorda from where we should be, down 7 inches of rain in Naples. Because of that, we are under this. Moderate drought has extended further south. Now, we got this brand new update of the drought monitor yesterday, all right, at around 9 a.m., And the one from last week showed some of that moderate 2 out of 5 drought. That's that tan color. It was pushing into Charlotte County and most of DeSoto County, but now it has shifted well further south. It's expanded further inland as well, encompassing all of Charlotte, pretty much most of Lee County, everyone that lives in Lee County. It's even pushing into North Naples right there, and it's extending further inland, Glades, Hendry County, even portions there, a little bit there to the south of Lake Placid and Highlands County. It just goes to show that the lack of rainfall is having an impact. We've already seen some local communities, including portions of Charlotte County, I believe, start to tell their residents that, hey, if you can, try to use a little bit less water out there, not as frequently. And that's kind of in preparation for the fact that we are in the dry season and we're not going to be seeing a lot of rain. Oshana, you can kind of touch on this too, a little bit of that fire potential, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think, is that yellow? I can't really see.
It is, yes.
Yeah, so yesterday we were at a low level, and so we remained there today. And then earlier this week, we actually had no fire potential. So things are definitely changing as we dry out. That soil is starting to slowly dry out. We were lucky. The first few weeks of November, we did have enough moisture in the soil to kind of keep our fire potential or fire chances low, so they have been kind of taking advantage. You might have noticed we've had quite a few prescribed fires here and there throughout Southwest Florida. I know we had a few along Alligator Alley. I've driven past some on I-75. We also had a few in Charlotte County. So they're working overtime on those prescribed burns while they can, because that actually is going to help when we get to the really dry parts of dry season where that fire potential is really probably going to shoot up at this rate. The fact that Fort Myers, for example, is 17 inches below where they should be in 2025, it's not a great sign for what's to come when we actually enter our greatest fire season, which I believe begins more so in the winter, January, February. So that's something to keep in mind. We're really dry, so bonfires, it's not always the best idea when you see things like this. I know the fire potential is still low, but it's there, so that says enough. So, I mean, I love having bonfires when it's cool outside, and I know we have a chance to see some of that next weekend.
Right.
But do it responsibly, and if there is a burn ban, which I'm expecting at some point in the next couple of months, I'm sure we're going to have a few of those burn bans out there. Just listen to the authorities, because this is not something to play with.
It's all about being responsible, right? Especially, when it comes to the wind out there. If it's more of a windy day, then that's certainly not the day to do it. The winds are calm, it's a little bit more controlled, that's good. That's especially when they start to do those prescribed burn fires. Like you mentioned, they're super helpful, right? They get rid of kind of all of that underbrush, all of the kind of dead debris and brush in there as well. So that kind of cleans things up a little bit. And like you mentioned, once we get into the swing of like February, March, April, I mean, at that point, we are well into dry season. It hasn't been a whole lot of rain in several months. That's when it really becomes a problem. This is definitely one of the driest starts that we've had so far to the dry season. We'll have to actually go in and look at the numbers. That'll be something that we present to you next week, just to kind of see how we stacked up against previous dry seasons. Let's go ahead and get back to those graphics, because, I do want to talk a little bit about what exactly the dry season is, because we mentioned it a whole lot. Southwest Florida, we have a rainy season and a dry season. Rainy season is when you would expect, right? Primarily during the summer months. Dry season kicks off right around October 15th. I mean, this year it was like a faucet. All of a sudden, we had one little front move through, and that was enough to knock out the extra water that's in the atmosphere and that extra humidity as well. So from now all the way through on May 15th is typically when we're in the dry season. It only counts for about 30% of our yearly rainfall. So it's longer than the rainy season, but accounts for only less than half of what we get throughout the year. It's normally defined by slightly lower humidity, also in turn lower rain chances. In the wet season, in the rainy season, we got the sea breeze that kicks in, right? The water temperatures are warm enough, it's warm enough in the air, we have enough of that precipitable water to work with, so we get those pretty much everyday hit or miss showers and storms, and those eventually start to add up and keep us afloat. But this time of year, we don't have that precipitable water to work with, we don't have the moisture in the atmosphere, so we don't get those sea breeze driven showers and storms. The only hope that we pretty much have this time of year is when we get a front that starts to push a little bit closer. That provides lift. It also normally brings a little bit of that added moisture as well. We have a very weak front moving through on Sunday, and I say it's very weak because it's not going to have enough energy and it's not going to have enough moisture. That's the reason why our rain chances are going to stay all the way down at 10%. staying dry throughout the first half of the week next week. There's Thanksgiving at the tail end of this. You see that 20% chance for rain. I kind of want to show you how this is all going to play out here on a couple of future tracks. We'll start off with this weekend, high pressure in place. Remember just about 15 minutes ago we were talking about sinking air? That's exactly what high pressure does for you. Keeps the air downwards instead of allowing it to rise upwards. That means you don't see rain. We're dry today. That means we're dry again as we look ahead towards Saturday as well. And then eventually we get into Sunday. That's when that high pressure starts to dissipate. Here comes that weak front that I talked about. This does have the potential to bring one or two little stray showers. All right, Oceana, you've probably been seeing something similar along that lines, right? Just nothing really impressive.
Not too much.
Yeah, no, not too much at all. So it's something we'll watch for. I think if we do see a stray shower, it's probably going to be like overnight Sunday into Monday morning, so you might even be awake for it. And again, 90% of us will likely be staying dry. I have one more future track to show you. Here it is. So this is going to be picking up Sunday. There's that front. Then you're going to notice on Monday and Tuesday, we're going to continue to stay dry and unseasonably warm out there. Then we fast forward into Thursday. This is Thanksgiving. Notice another stronger front this time starts to get a little bit closer to us, and this one could help to bring perhaps a few showers on Thanksgiving. Overall, most of us, again, stay dry. Maybe you'll notice a few more clouds out there. Then we get to Black Friday, the day after Thanksgiving. More cloud cover, noticeably more. And also, since that front is a little bit closer, it provides lift so the air can rise. Therefore, we have the chance to see some isolated showers on your Black Friday. So we'll increase the rain chances on that day up to about 30%. So when you put that all together and look at it here in our 10-day forecast, you'll notice, again, not many changes from now up until Wednesday of next week. Then when that front starts to get a little bit closer, Thanksgiving stays warm, but then a little bit of a cool down. Look at that. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, our daytime highs get knocked down into the upper 70s. It's something. We'll take it. And those morning lows start to get a little bit closer again to the upper 50s and low 60s. So that's what we have going on close to home. We've got one last thing to show you for today, and it's been the favorite part of what we have on Wink Tracks the Tropics as we come to a close of the hurricane season. That is going to be
Turkey tidbits.
Turkey tidbits. Let's pop it up right here. And Oceana, I will let you take the floor.
Yeah, so just to explain, if you haven't seen us do Turkey Tidbits before, we assume that if you're watching Wink Tracks the Tropics, you like the weather like we do, and if you want any holiday table talk, as the holidays are right around the corner. I can't believe Thanksgiving is within the next 7 days. That's crazy. Time is flying. These are some fun things you can impress your friends and family with. So the first one is thunder is actually way louder than what we can hear. So air is actually a really good absorber, and it absorbs most of the sound. So we're only hearing thunder at its 10% capacity, let's say. So if you ever hear a really loud crack of thunder, more so in the summer, I know that's when I usually hear those crazy thunders that you wake up the next day and everybody's talking about it from the middle of the night. That's actually only usually around 10% as loud as it actually is if you were, let's say, in the cloud with the thunder. Another one that I want to talk about, this one's fun. Crickets chirp faster when it's warm. So on those warm summer nights, if you're ever out camping or if you have crickets around your house, I do. I know if you live anywhere with a lot of trees in the summer, you're probably hearing those crickets chirp. And really here in Florida, we hear them all year long. But this is because since they're cold-blooded, they actually have to work their muscles harder at higher temperatures. So it's kind of like how you run and then it breaks a sweat. Well, they have to really work their muscles to keep when it's warm out there. So pretty interesting if you hear crickets chirping really loud and really quick, like it's definitely warm outside.
Wait, how does that work again?
What?
Can we do that again?
Oh, you want to hear the cricket sound? No. You guys can go back and listen to that.
One more.
And then we've got one more. This one's kind of similar. It's like using nature as kind of your weather guide. I love things like this. Pine cones close up when it's humid out there, and that's to prevent ineffective seed dispersal in the wet weather. So that's a pretty cool one too. I have a lot of pine cones around my house as well. So in the summertime especially, you might notice those pine cones are really closed up. But in the wintertime, you might notice if you buy any pine cones from the store that are fake, you'll notice they look a little more spread out because up north, they're not really as closed up in the winters. So they kind of like to imitate that in the stores, I've noticed. Pine cones look really perfect and perky. And then here in in Southwest Florida, if you go outside in the summer, your pine cones are probably all closed up, and it's actually because it prevents their seeds from ineffective dispersal when it's too wet outside.
But you know, I like when it's dry because when they're opened up, they kind of like smell a little bit better, right?
They do,
It
yes.
kind of has that pine cone.
That's exactly
scent to it.
right.
That was cool. I actually didn't know that one. So thank you, Oceana, for those very fun little facts right there. We'll continue to bring those to you over the next couple of days, but that's not going to be Saturday or Sunday. We want you to enjoy your weekend, enjoy the nice quiet time in the tropics. We've got a few more days before Thanksgiving next week when we put a little bow on things. We'll give you a little bit more, information when it comes to the hurricane season, what you should be planning for, what to expect, different things you'll hear heading into next season when all those new predictions start to pop up and everything like that. But for now, like I said, enjoy the quiet in the tropics, enjoy your weekend, have a great Friday. Thank you so much for tuning in to today's edition of Wink Tracks the Tropics. We'll see you back here on Monday, same time, same place. Have a good one.